What's happening, everyone? This is Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist, and welcome, welcome, welcome. And it is such an honor to be here. It's another beautiful day, another day that we can breathe, we can love, we can share just wonderful things with everyone. And we got some wonderful things to share with you today. So thank you for joining us. This is the We Nation Radio podcast, or We Nation podcast. And we is part of our radio station called We Nation Radio, and it stands for Watoto Entertainment and Education. And Watoto is a Swahili word that means children. And we provide the best, in what we say, the best in family-friendly global beats for little feet. That means we play R&B, hip hop, funk, jazz, reggae, go-go, calypso, African world music, music, salsa, a little bit of everything, all for children 0 to 12. That's age appropriate and culturally relevant. So download the app on your mobile phones, on your devices, free of charge, commercial free as well. So, and today we are excited to get started back with our partnership with my alma mater, the University of Maryland, Baltimore County. As you may recall, last year we started a program. We started working with them, partnering with them for their Diverse Books Project. And the Diverse Books Project was started by originally by the Sherman Center for Early Learning in Urban Communities. And we're partnering now with the Sherman Teacher Scholars Program. And this particular program is awesome. And in fact, I want to make sure I read it correctly. The Diverse Books Project started in April 2018. And the goal of this project is to ensure that early childhood educators are a partner, at their partner schools, and these particularly are those in Baltimore City, have access to high quality, diverse children's books and opportunities to share ideas and insights about their use. And what we do is we provide them with another alternative. They have a selection of exemplary books, and they allow the teachers to select their top books for that either quarter or that semester. And then we will interview those authors. We will actually have their book read either by them or by a professional book reader or a storyteller. And then we will share music related to the subject of the book, all on the We Nation Radio app. So make sure you get that app. And this gives parents and teachers pretty much another resource to ensure that book reading is fun and something that is encouraged in our community. So today I am so honored to have our first guest for the 2024-2025 year, a book author named Melissa Iwai. Now, Melissa is the author of several multicultural and food-themed books, including Soup Day, Pizza Day, and Dumplings for Lili. I think I pronounced that correct. She'll correct me if I'm not. Which won the Crystal Kite Award and was named the Bank Street Best Book. It's a great honor. She 4 titles of her early reader series, Gigi and Ojiji, are Junior Library Guild Gold Standard selections. And Gigi and Ojiji received the Theodor Geisel Honor in 2023. Now, when not creating books, Melissa enjoys cooking, of course, with a book like Soup Day and Pizza Day. You have to enjoy cooking and doing crossword puzzles with her husband. I love that. And who is also an author, Denis Markell in Brooklyn. So I'm going to bring in for our first guest this year, the one and only Melissa Iwai. Welcome to We Nation Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. It's so great to be here.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited to be part of this program.
Well, first of all, congratulations for having your book to be a part of the UMBC Sherman Center collection.
Thank you.
It wasn't something that they selected. It was something that the teachers in Baltimore City Schools selected.
Oh, that's so great. Thank you so much.
And before we really get into the book, and I know I read a little bit about you, you mentioned that you're currently in Brooklyn, New York. Is that were you raised in Brooklyn?
No, I'm actually a West Coast person. I am born and raised in a small California town on the Central Coast. Very different.
Okay.
It's like the country there, but I moved to New York City in the 90s to start my career. And back in the day, you know, the children's book industry is mainly in New York City, and back in the day you had to be here. So that's
Okay.
why I moved, and then I met my husband,
Okay.
who's a Brooklynite. So that's why we live.
Okay. Now, and speaking of that, in terms of the whole book industry, so have you seen a shift in that time period where you felt like you had to come to New York? Is that still a priority for someone who wants to be a book author? Do you
I
find?
don't think so because of the internet,
Mhm.
You can live anywhere and do what I do, which is amazing.
Right.
But back then, I hand carried my portfolio to publishers and,
Mm-hmm.
everything was kind of rooted in the place more.
Okay. When did you first know that you wanted to be a book author?
You know what? I feel like I knew when I was a little kid. I I just loved books and I was an early reader and I was very shy and kind of timid and was afraid of meeting strangers and things. So anyway, books were like an emotional refuge for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I always loved books and I always loved drawing, but I didn't think I could do this work until somewhat later in my life. And when I finally made the leap to do this, I've never looked back. It really, truly is a dream job.
So you had mentioned that you're an artist. Now talk a little bit about that and what role did being an artist inspire you to want to be a book author, if any?
Well, I started as an illustrator. That's how I broke into the industry, and I illustrated books for about 10 years that other people wrote. And but I've always wanted to write my own. It's just that I wasn't able to sell anything. Um, it's it's kind of hard to sell a
Mm.
children's book manuscript. It might look easy on the surface because they're so short, but it took a while for me. And yeah, I think after being in the industry for that long and really understanding more about what was required, I was finally able to sell my first manuscript, and that was Soup Day. That was my debut
Okay.
authored book.
So talk a little bit about the struggle of getting started. You had mentioned that it didn't come overnight. How did you persevere during the times when you wanted to move forward, but there may have been a couple of setbacks? What would you say to someone else that's going through this process and may experience a setback, but know that this is something that they want to do?
Well, I can think of instances as both an artist and a writer.
Mhm.
But I think the common thread with both is to be open to learning, be curious, and be open to constructive criticism as well.
Mm.
Um, and yeah, it's a good way to figure out maybe where your skills are lacking and where you need to work harder to bring those up, or maybe it's just a case of also just never giving up and just doing the work and knowing that the right person is going to recognize it and see it and give you a chance. I think
You-
it's a combination of both
Right. You
things.
know, I have a song that's called The Victory Horn. And it's encouraging anyone, but definitely children, to don't give up. The victory horn is telling you to keep going. I said the victory horn is telling you to keep going. Um, and no matter what, we just say, don't quit. Uh,
Hmm.
you may have to adjust. It's sort of like going to, if I may use the analogy, if you want to take a trip and you're from the West Coast and you want to go to the West Coast, well, your goal is to go there. You might want to fly, but something might tell you, well, you know what? I need this. I need to take a car, or I might need to take the bus, or I may need to take a train. The fact is, you're still going, and it may take you a little longer,
Hmm.
but I think that perseverance is very important. And so, what year was it that you first published Soup Day?
That originally came out in 2010. So I'm so happy that it is still going strong.
Now,
And it's been released in different formats. It's also available as a board book and also as a paperback.
Now, explain what a board book is for those who may not know.
Oh, a board book is the books that are for younger children from the time they're infants to maybe 2 or 3 years old. They're made with cardboard pages. They're very firm and very difficult to tear, so that's why they're for younger kids. And sometimes they tend to be less number of pages. But I think Soup Day it's the same as the picture book.
Okay. And so when you first had the idea of doing Soup Day, now I'm gonna go into the weeds a little bit. From the time that you decided to write the book to the time that it was published, how long of a period was that? Because I think many times people think it can happen overnight and it might take a little longer, but just curious to know your process.
Oh, that's a great question. Actually, this process was so fluid and seamless. I was so lucky, but part of it is because I had already worked with this particular editor, Crystal Kite Award. But even with that, I think from the time I got the idea, it took 2 years.
Okay.
2 years because it takes a year just for the printing part of it. But
Yeah.
that's considered very fast.
Right. Yeah, I'm a children's book author also, and it took me maybe about 2 years from the time I thought about doing the book to the time it actually was in hand.
Oh, that's great.
So it takes a little while, and there's so many different factors. Like, if you're going to get a publisher, that's going to take a while. If you self-publish, then you got to make sure you get the resources. That can take a while. Editing, and also that's important. So what we're going to do then is we're going to listen to the reading of your book, and this is your book, Soup Day, and you're listening to We Nation podcast. I'm your host, Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist, and my guest is author Melissa Iwai, and we're going to now take a listen to her book, Soup Day.
Soup Day by Melissa Iwai. Today is Soup Day. I help Mommy pick up the vegetables. She says it's important to choose the freshest ones with the brightest colors. This is what we put in our basket. 1 bunch of crispy green celery, 2 shiny yellow onions, 3 long orange carrots, 4 smooth camp potatoes, 5 tiny dark green zucchini, 6 big white mushrooms. Oops, we almost forgot the parsley. Back at home, we wash the vegetables. Then Mommy chops everything into different shapes. The celery and onions become tiny squares. The carrots become circles. The potatoes become cubes, and the parsley becomes confetti. I get to cut the mushrooms and zucchini with a plastic knife because they are soft. Mommy helps my hand. We pour the oil into the big soup pot, and Mommy cooks the onions, celery, and carrots together. This makes them soft. They sizzle in the oil. Then we fill the big pot with broth. It makes a loud sound. I help put in the rest of the vegetables. Mommy covers the pot, and we wait. For a while, we make a city. We read to each other. Then we have to escape from a big monster. Before long, our home smells like yummy soup inside. It needs a little something, she says. Now, I get to choose which kind of pasta to add to the soup. Angel hair, fettuccine, farfalle, pastina rotini, elbow, macaroni, alphabet, because I like to eat the letters. Sometimes they make words while we wait for the noodles to cook. We clean up our city, we return the books to the bookshelf, we put the monster to sleep, and then Daddy's home. Now it's time to eat our soup and sprinkle the confetti parsley on top. It looks like green snow. I love Soup Day. The end.
So now I'm just curious, did you grow up loving soup? Why a book about soup?
That's a funny question. I've always loved soup, but that wasn't the reason why I wrote the book. Really, my inspiration for this book is my son, Jamie. When he was very little, like a lot of kids, he was a very picky eater and he didn't like his vegetables. So one of the ways I would get him interested in eating veggies is to help me cook.
Mm-hmm.
And I would let him cut the zucchini with a plastic knife, or, help me choose the vegetables when we were in the store and things like that. And when he was more of the process, he was more interested in eating new foods and new vegetables in particular. And I had developed this soup for him, and it was his favorite thing.
Okay.
He just loved it, and it was a great way for him to eat his veggies. So
Okay. How old is your son now?
he's 20.
Okay. And I know he's got to be proud of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So and one of the songs another song that I wrote that is kind of perfect for this is a song called I Like Onions. And I wrote that because I wanted to find a unique way of having something that was fun to encourage children to eat their vegetables. But I really do like onions. I love the smell
Oh,
of
I do too. I
uh,
love onions.
and they have so much value for us in our family. And I found that you were introducing a lot of different types of not only just vegetables, but you also introduced a lot of different pastas.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, was that intentional?
Oh, definitely. I think pasta is just so fun.
Yes.
And I love the hard pasta, the uncooked pasta,
Mhm.
and all the different shapes. They're so fun to
Yes.
look at and to make and eat. And yeah, that was one of the activities I would do with my son is, figure out which pasta do we want and let him choose
Mhm.
which one he liked. So
Well, right now we're living in a day where people are banning books. Have you experienced any of that? And what is your thoughts on the idea of book banning and those types of things?
well, of course, I'm completely against book
Okay.
banning. I think it's so unbelievable what is going on and to what extent it is going on. And the books that they choose to ban, it just makes no sense to me. And it's antithetical to education
Absolutely.
and learning. But I have fortunately have do not have any books that are banned
Good.
myself that I've created, but I am an ally of other people whose books have been banned. I have friends whose books have been banned. So
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah.
I would fight against that.
Well, one of the reasons why UMBC has started the Diverse Books Project was to ensure that teachers and educators and parents have a diversity of different types of books. And that's why I was so glad to see that they loved your book and they're incorporating it. Um, since you started in this industry, have you seen a shift? And do you find that there are more diverse books out there than it was when you first started?
Definitely, especially in the past 5 years, I would say. But I hope it continues. It's wonderful to see the variety of books that kids and parents are offered. Just a huge array. I'm also on the Ezra Jack Keats Awards Committee, and that's one of the missions of the Ezra Jack Keats Award is to find new creators and author and illustrators who are creating books with this multicultural theme. And as a judge on that committee, I get hundreds of books, and I'm seeing wonderful, wonderful books of different characters with backgrounds that I have not seen before. And I think it's a wonderful thing. Now, when I started in the 90s, this just was not the case. And there were books. It wasn't like there weren't any. Like when I was growing up, that really was a time when I did not see anybody who looked like me as a kid. And one of my guiding lights, I would say, in my work as an illustrator and an author, but I started as an illustrator, was to show people who I felt were not represented as fully in my industry. And so a lot of times, even if the text didn't mention an ethnicity or a cultural background, I would put that in my illustrations. So my guiding light is actually, I have always wanted to create books that I would have loved as a kid because I did not see those books when I was growing up. And I think it is so important for kids to see themselves in books. It means so much. So,
and I think it's important for we as adults to connect with the child in us, just as what you were talking about, and just think back on what was it that was special that you remember. I'm not. I remember being inspired to write a song. I grew up in the Black church tradition, and part of the families where you'll spend all day in church. But there used to be a aspect of the church ushers. You had their anniversary, and they will march in. It was like a dance. And to me, that was my favorite part because they were serious, they were organized. So I did a song called the Church Ushers Dance. And so,
cool.
but I had to allow myself to go back and think and remember those fun things that we as adults take for granted, but look at it from a child perspective and then create that in some type of music. So I can hear you doing the same thing.
Wonderful. Yeah. I love that.
And so I'm not going to keep you too much longer, but I do want to ask you, for those who may be authors and are interested in potentially reaching out to a publisher, what's the best, well, not the best, but what's a process to do that? I know it may have been different when you first started in the 90s, but what advice would you have for someone that's a book author and want to at least take their information to a publisher? What's the best way? Well, what's a best way that you may recommend for that?
Well, I think for budding authors, it's at the beginning, you have to really know the audience and the market, so to speak, of what you want to do, because even within children's books, there are different genres and there's a whole range. And I think it's just really important to read as much as you can and to look at in the area that you want to create in, both for writing and art, to just see what's out there. What do you like? And read as much as you possibly can to get a feel for the practice. And unfortunately, nowadays, a lot of editors who are the people who are going to read your submissions and possibly buy them, a lot of them, they have so many manuscripts they get every day that they require you to have an agent kind of as a gatekeeper so they can weed out the massive amounts of manuscripts that are out there. So it might be that you need an agent first. But I know people who have sold things without agents as well. But I think an important thing is to know the industry, and one of the ways you can do that, to learn about all the different requirements, the ins and outs, to network and to meet agents and to meet editors and art directors, is to become a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, which is an international nonprofit organization that seeks to help bring people together in this world of children's books. And they have international chapters, national chapters, and within the national chapters, there are regional conferences. There's a mid-annual and an annual conference for the national population. And at these conferences, you can actually learn so much about the industry and meet people who can possibly help you. There's workshops one-on-one where you can get critiques. There's a portfolio competition. There's just many ways that you can break in an organic way. And I've been a member ever since I was unpublished and an art student so many years ago, and I've been a member since. So professional people go to these conferences, newbies go to the conferences, and everybody in between. So it's just a really important resource, I think, for anybody who is interested in being part of this industry.
And that's important. I mean, what you're really saying is take it seriously, and by connecting with these networks, I mean, you'll become a part of that network. So it's not just you going there, but the connections you make, the resources you will hear, the stories you will learn will help hopefully allow someone not to make some mistakes that others have made. Because I find that at many of these types of conferences, people are willing to share mistakes that they made.
It's so inspiring.
Yes.
There's so many inspiring people, and people want to share their knowledge. And I know so many people who got started through their resources. And again, it's scbwi.org, and for Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. Sorry.
Thank you for that. We will share that information, and I'm sure for everyone else, they'll really appreciate that. And then also, we haven't talked anything about your book, Pizza Day. Tell us a little bit about that book.
Oh, yeah. Pizza Day is the companion book to Soup Day. And it has the same structure. It's all about making pizza in an afternoon. And instead of a mom and a daughter, it's a dad and a son. And instead of the city, they live in the suburbs or country, and they have a garden, and they grow all their vegetables, and they pick these vegetables to use for ingredients for the pizza that they make. And then at the end, of course, they get to eat the pizza, and there's a pizza recipe at the back, including the dough and the sauce. Wow. And of course, pizza's so wonderful, you can put whatever you want on it.
Oh yeah,
that was also my son's favorite food.
Okay, but it's such a communal experience making pizza, and like you said, putting whatever toppings you wanted, and so that's a great opportunity. What's the best way for someone to reach you if they're interested in any of your books or want to bring you in for speaking engagements? What's the best way for them to reach you?
Oh, they can reach me at my website, which is just my name, melissaiwai.com. I have a newsletter. If you sign up for my newsletter, I'm always posting about events that are coming up, live in-person events, and other news. I always have a recipe. And through my website, you can also contact me and reach out. But I'm also on all the different social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook. I have a YouTube channel. Yeah, all with my name, and so easy to find.
Yeah. And you actually put a recipe in Soup Day as
I
well.
did. There's a soup recipe at the end, and that's the soup that I would always make
Okay.
for my son.
Is
And
there
it's very easy to alter to your own taste.
Okay.
Like in terms of the broth you use or the veggies that you put in and the pasta that you put in.
It's the same thing for Pizza Day. You have a recipe in that book as well?
Yes, at the end.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna have to check that out. All right. Well, again, I want to thank you for just taking the time and being with us and joining us here at We Nation Podcast and part of the UMBC's Sherman Center's Diverse Books Project. Again, congratulations for your book being selected. Right now, it's being shared with students in the Baltimore City Public Schools, and we hope that it will continue to grow. And we also hope that your career continue to grow and prosper in what did we say, threefold. So we wish you all.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure being here and speaking with you. Thank you. I had a great time.
All right. Thank you so much. And so again, I am Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist, and you've been listening to Melissa Iwai, author of many books, but including our book of the day, part of the Diverse Books Project, Soup Day. You can find out more about the UMBC's Diverse Books Project, or if you're an author and you would like your book to be considered, reach out to us. Go to, I'll say it for those that are listening on audio. You go to the shermancenter.umbc.edu. That stands for the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, /diverse-books-project. They have a back, I guess that's a / at the end, but I don't think you're going to need that to be able to reach them. Or just Google the UMBC Sherman Center Diverse Books Project, and it will pull up. And again, you're listening to, and this is part of the We Nation Radio podcast. Please make sure that you download the app. We created this radio station so that we can provide children with an alternative to what we call music adultification. That's where we force our children to listen to inappropriate adult music. And so not only do you hear music, but you hear book authors, story time, and more. Download our app right now. Look for We Nation Radio with 2 E's. And download our free app. You can play it in your nursery schools and in your daycare centers and museums. Perfect for CarPlay and other places in the car where you can take a listen and you don't have to worry about the content because it's all educational and fun. Well, I have to get out of here. I am Uncle Devin, the children's drum cushionist. Thank you for taking the time to be with us today. We hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day and the rest of your week. And as we always say here at We Nation Radio, just remember that life is a drum. So beat it.